Hi friends, so today we're going to be checking everything about the word order. In this video we're going to be learning the sequence subject, verb, object, complement, also called the syntax. We're going to be also learning about the difference between the object and the complement. And finally, we're going to learn about punctuation, the basics. So let's start. Consider this sentence. Mary eats an apple in the park. So, what happens to the apple? And what happens to the park? We can say that the apple gets transformed. You consume the apple, it gets finished, and it goes from being a fruit to becoming energy. So the apple is transformed. On the other hand, nothing happens to the park. Let's start then. So when you have a sentence, you need these elements: subject, verb, object, complement, and period. These elements in this sequence is called syntax, also known as word order. So here we have the same elements in a sentence. Mary eats an apple in the park. Mary is the subject. It is the verb. An apple is going to be the object, and in the park is the complement. So the subject is responsible for the action. The verb is the action. The object receives the action, or it is transformed by the action, in this case the apple. Finally, the complement is additional information: where, when the action happened. Finally, we have the period. Whenever you have this sequence of elements, we finish with a period. It's part of the sequence. Let's consider the first way. Mary eats an apple in the park. In this case, we have all of the elements there: subject, verb, object, complement, and period. But we could eliminate the object. We can say Mary eats in the park. No object. It is possible, yes. Another situation could be that Mary eats an apple, but in this case we don't mention where. So in this case the sentence doesn't have a complement. Also, we could move the complement to the beginning. For example, in the park, comma, Mary eats an apple. So in the end of the day, you have these four possible ways to present a sentence. Remember, the complement is always in the end, unless you put it in the beginning with a comma. Let's go back to this sentence one more time. Mary eats an apple in the park. So what happens to the apple? Well, it gets transformed, so the apple is the object. What happens to the park? Nothing happens to the park. It does not get transformed, so it is the complement. So let's understand the difference between the object versus the complement. In the sentence, Mary eats an apple in the park, the object is transformed by the action. In this case, the apple goes from being a fruit to becoming energy, whereas the complement is not affected by the action. You eat the apple, but nothing happens to the park. That takes us to the next part. Whenever you finish this sequence, subject, verb, object, complement, you always finish with a period. For example, Mary eats an apple in the park, period. And then I start a new sequence. John reads a book in the library, period. Andrea drives her car in the street, period. Peter cooks dinner at home, period. Mark prefers to listen to the radio, period. Note that every time I completed a sequence, I end with a period, not with a comma. So see these two paragraphs, one is correct and the other is incorrect. What's the problem with the second paragraph? Is the commas. Remember, whenever we have a complete sequence, subject, verb, object, and complement, we cannot put a comma. We need a period. And that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much.